Hello, a pretty comfortable win for Manchester City against Wolves. And has the Spurs captain saved his manager's job? Hello, everyone. Mark Donaldson with you. Alongside Janusz Mihalik, we're going to start at the Etihad. Pretty routine. Manchester City 2, Wolves 0. A couple of talking points before the game kicked off. Janusz, Mark Gahey getting his debut, and Erling Haaland on the bench. How did City fare without their top scorer today?
Well, you've mentioned it, a practice match, right? Not that Wolves didn't try. Obviously, they're fighting for their lives, but for most of it, when you and I meet, there's always a talking point, and I'm glad you brought it out with Erling Haaland. Normal rotation, I suppose, but if those Mo Salah, right? The world ends, and here nobody really talks about it. So. I think he is steady Eddie. Obviously, a good buy, knows the league, experienced, and all that. I didn't notice anything in particular from him that was good, better, and different. But it was good. It's one of those matches that we quickly forget about. But Manchester City putting pressure on Arsenal, and that's good.
Yeah, 4 points. Now the gap at the top. Of course, Arsenal still to play this weekend. Opening goal didn't take long. 6 minutes. Cross in from Mateus Nunes. It wasn't a high boot, it was a low head, and it was Marmoush that got in there. It's a good finish, and it's a defender waiting on a ball and a forward going to attack a ball, and the forward coming out on top.
Yeah, I mean, look, I felt for Omar Marmoush, one of those players that because of Erling Haaland, he's automatic, right? I mean, 20 goals in the Premier League, and I think there's a player in him. You and I have watched it in the Bundesliga. I think he's had a difficult time. He was away, obviously, for on international duty, but I think if he gets more time, I think there is something to him that I like, but it's just unfortunate that you have Erling Haaland.
City wanted a penalty about 8 minutes from half time. Marmoush continues the play, hits the post. He's unlucky not to score the second, but then it's reviewed. Now the referee was Farai Halam. It was his first Premier League game. He was invited over to the monitor to have a look, the suggestion being that it was a handball. I think it was by Mosquera. This took an eternity, replay after replay after replay. In the end, the rookie ref came over and announced to the crowd that the on-field decision would stand because the player's arm was in a natural position. Those are the facts. What did you make of the decision to award no penalty and for play to continue?
Good for him. You probably noticed that I tweeted about it at the moment because, just gut feeling is that 99% of the time, I think this is called a penalty because the arm was out. But, if you look at the distance, if you look at how it happened, a little bit of a flick, obviously. If it was cold, I would have been okay with it. But I'm glad that he didn't give in and re-refereed that situation because as a defender, I just feel that this was a good decision. Gut feeling for me at the moment was that it wasn't a penalty. It wasn't intentional.
Okay. Added time at the end of the first half. Bernardo Silva with a through ball. What I like a lot about this was the first touch by Semenyo. It doesn't just kill it. It moves it into a position that his second touch is the shot that makes it 2-0. What has Semenyo added to this City lineup that they maybe didn't have before, Janusz?
Well, I don't know if he's added anything, but I mean, he's walked into the job. He's got like 4 games, 3 goals, I think. If you not for City, but he's got the pace. He's smart. It's not an easy team to walk into right away and make an impact, and that's what he does. And I often watch the massive clubs when somebody comes over. We talk about needing time and all that, but he's walked in and looked the part. Obviously, City can buy anyone. But as I said, I just think that tactically with his pace, ability to get behind, I'm going to watch him a little bit because obviously City faces low block all the time, and that's not his thing. So, but for the most part, great start.
Yeah, he's hit the frame of the goal in the second half as well. Could easily have scored again. For those of you that play Fantasy Premier League and captained Erling Haaland this weekend, I'm sure you were getting excited about who your vice captain was, and then Haaland appears in the 73rd minute. So you get a 1-pointer doubled to get 2 points. Glorious. He came on. If you're not starting him, what's the point of bringing him on? Is that him just saying, look, let me at him?
Yeah, I've had some controversial opinions about Erling Haaland in the past. Because he didn't do much when he doesn't score and all that. I've learned, so I'm not gonna I'm not gonna do anything here. The guy scores goals, natural rotation. I think a little bit of a message for sure, and a smart manager that understands that even though he didn't start him, and I do believe this was a bit of a message other than rotation. You let him in, and next couple games he's going to get you 3, 4, 5 goals. That's what he does. I've made peace with that. I'm no longer going to question him because, next game again is going to be a hat trick.
Looking at City's fixtures regarding how they're using their squad after this weekend, it's Galatasaray in the Champions League in midweek, Spurs at the weekend, Newcastle in the League Cup semi-final in midweek, Liverpool at the weekend. And then it's Fulham. They play as well in, I think it's midweek. So then they've got Salford in the FA Cup 3 days later. It's like, you're not going to start everybody at once. I thought it was interesting you said something earlier. If this was something like Salah that wasn't playing, it's a headline news. But with Haaland, Pep's come out in the last few weeks and said he's shattered. It's no surprise he was benched today, is it? Just give him a rest.
No, and again, if this happens again in the next game, then we have a story, right? And Haaland's unlike, I think, Mo Salah. He's not going to say anything. He understands that maybe he needs it. The way he plays, it's kind of one of those players that he doesn't have to move a lot. He doesn't have to spend a lot of time chasing people, right? So he's going to be fine. Again, to me, it's not a story. If he doesn't start the next game, then you and I will talk.
Yes, indeed we shall. The other game, Burnley against Spurs. This was quite a game. Mickey van de Ven scores the opener. Burnley equalise, go 2-1 up, and you're thinking, Spurs, I mean, is this Thomas Frank finally done? Typical Spurs, they got a great win and then a rubbish performance the next time out. And then Christian Romero, the captain of Spurs, scores the equaliser right near the end. So where do we go with this one? Is it play till the whistle and Spurs show their mettle and save the manager's job, or what is it?
Yeah, they sort of save it. I still think he's gone, Mark. Just a matter of time, right? I look at their schedule, and before you get ahead of me, because I know you're good at this, I'm looking at City, Man United away, Newcastle at home, Arsenal at home, Fulham, Crystal Palace, Liverpool, and Forest. So a lot of derbies, a lot of big games. And, what are they, Mark? 8 points away from the drop. I don't want to say it, but, looking at that schedule, there's going to be a fight on their hands. And so if there's ever a moment, if Spurs are thinking about maybe changing things, this is the moment. And I have a lot of time for Thomas Frank. I like him. I don't like sacking managers. Who am I to do it? But I just have a feeling, the first half they didn't play for him. Second half was a little bit better. Romero, obviously, what is it now? 3 games, I think he scored. Not sure if he's a good defender, but he can certainly put goals away. So my gut feeling is that Thomas Frank doesn't last. I don't know what the moment's going to be, but I think Spurs better be looking.
So the next time Spurs play in the Premier League is the 1st of February, and it's against Manchester City. Just want to go back to something you said. If they're going to get rid of him now, because it's Man City, and no one expects them to get much from that game. And if they do, it probably just delays the inevitable. But if they don't, and they decide after that game to fire him, the transfer window closes the following day. If you're a manager coming in to replace Thomas Frank and you don't have a transfer window to do what you want, how much more difficult does that make it compared with saying right now, yeah, this is the reason why you're not staying, even though you got a late goal, we need someone else to come in and get their own players over the next.
Yeah, but I think Spurs better be working behind the scenes. It's one of those things that, managers will take the job. It's a massive club, great stadium. We all know that, and they're going to take the opportunity. We often ask, like, why do they do it? Why do they come to Manchester United? Why do they come to Spurs? 2 teams that, recently have have hired and fired managers, but you take that job because it only comes around once in a lifetime for a lot of these managers. So I don't worry about that, but I do worry about the schedule. And if Burnley, Wolves weren't as bad as they are, I mean, we're seriously talking about Spurs fighting the drop. And look what they've done in the Champions League. So two faces, I suppose. But I think we're going to see that in the Champions League as well, because things are not good. I mean, this team is not organized. This team doesn't defend well. Again, I'm not sure really what sort of tactics Thomas Frank is using. I thought he was, one of those pragmatic ones that, at the very least, is going to make sure that Spurs are good defensively. They're not even that.
You wonder about that late equaliser for Spurs and what it could mean for Burnley. You saw earlier today, if you were watching, West Ham get 3 vital points against Sunderland, still in the drop zone, but they've narrowed the gap on Forest in 17th
Right.
to just 2 points. Burnley had the chance to go within 5 points of Forest. They're now 7 points. How crucial could that equaliser for Romero be for Burnley's chances of safety?
Yeah, they're going down. Right. I mean, two teams, I look at, I don't see how they save themselves. West Ham, I think we could see that coming. I mean, they're not as bad as they've been, but in terms of Burnley, I don't see a lot of hope. I think the 3 points would have gone a long, long way. Obviously, a bit of a catalyst, if you will. But that equalizer, just confirms what I thought, right? I mean, it doesn't take you or I to say this. I don't think just Burnley are just not good enough.
Go back to Spurs to finish off with them. They've had good managers in the past. Now they've had quite a few managers. Is it a managerial issue? Is it a player issue? Or is it a club issue that over the past couple of seasons they've not been anywhere near where they should be in the Premier League?
Yeah, I think it's a club issue for the most part, right? I mean, finally they got a title, so we don't talk about that. But I just think that the expectations are way, way too high for what we've seen over the last couple of seasons, as you've mentioned. So I look at Spurs. I think it's a sort of club that needs a reset. And needs a good start to the season. Needs probably us to be quiet in a way and not talk about him as much, because I think every season as we start, these hopes about Spurs are so high. And you look at the injury situation, at least Solanke is back and he's contributing. But once they get their players back and once they have a little bit of stability, I think Spurs are going to be your team that it's going to be fighting for 5th, 6th, 7th place in the league, nothing more.
It's not helping Spurs that Arsenal are doing so well. So I took a little bit of a look back. When was the last time Spurs finished above Arsenal in the Premier League? It was season 21-22. 71 points. Arsenal were 5th with 69 points. Arsenal since then, I think, have finished 2nd in every subsequent season. Spurs, what a drop-off it's been. Has Arsenal's recent, not necessarily success, but consistency in the Premier League been a big hindrance on Spurs?
Yeah, no. Why would it? Yeah, I know the rivalry and all of that, but yeah, Spurs are not looking at Arsenal. They know that it's taken what 5, 6 seasons now for Arsenal to build a squad that's capable of winning just about everything. So, no, has nothing to do with that. I think they're looking over the shoulder, of course, and they don't like it. But I look at Spurs. I think when they're healthy, they're very much capable. But again, it's going to take a special leader. I think that's what this club needs right now. Levy going and obviously the ins and outs in terms of managers, that doesn't help. So I hope they settle. I hope they find their man, because I still think that Spurs are capable of doing big things in the league, but it's not going to be this season.
We mentioned the West Ham victory earlier. They beat Sunderland by 3-1. Still to come. Yanis and I will be back with Bournemouth against Liverpool. But I just want to end, Yanis, with a quick word about Fulham. They were a goal down against Brighton, but they turn it around. Chukwueze after 72. And then one of the unsung heroes of the Premier League season, Harry Wilson, who just quietly, effectively goes about his business, scores a stunner from distance in the 2nd minute of added time. Fulham win this one by 2-1, and they kind of have gone under the radar. We're talking about a lot of other teams this season. We don't speak much about Fulham. Should we be speaking more?
I did not watch this game, but I'm glad you asked. Harry Wilson, obviously, does he score any other goals than stunners? Last season, I seem to remember that he was so effective coming off the bench, but now obviously starting, and I think he's playing for a contract, isn't he? I think his contract is up this season as well. So, I mean, wonderful player, obviously. You know, that left foot is magical, but I'm going to stop at that because, as I've said, I didn't have the opportunity to watch this game.
No, I'm just saying the question, rather than asking about the game, the question was, are they or do they deserve to be spoken about more, given the fact that they're up to 7th in the table, just behind Chelsea on goal difference, now level on points with the Blues?
You know, Marco Silva doing a great job. Hopefully they make it to Europe. That's going to be the next step for them, I think, this season. And you're quite right. I think, you know, we're often fixated about the top teams, and we forget about the Fulhams and Crystal Palaces until they do something special. And maybe, just maybe, Fulham are on the way to do that.
Yep, indeed. Okay, Bournemouth against Liverpool still to come. Salah starts up front. Szoboszlai to one side, Gakpo to the other. Ekitike is on the bench. We, Janusz and I, will have full reaction on the final whistle of Bournemouth against Liverpool right here on YouTube. We will see you again in a couple of hours. Bye for now.